this doesn't happen very often, but somebody left a comment on a YouTube video of mine the other day, and it made me realize that this video that you're watching right now needs to exist, because there's a trap that an entire generation of people is slowly falling into, and they don't even realize it. And when you're too far in this trap, there is no way out for the rest of your life. So let me read you the comment. It's quite funny, it's quite abusive towards me, then tell you what the video was about that this comment was left on, and then dive into that topic a little bit more, because this is really important. So the person said, okay, wannabe Andrew Tate, I think he means me.
What colour is your guy?
Here's a comment to try and get your tragic views up. What would you rather me do after working a 9 to 5, completely exhausted and bored out of my mind, knowing that half of my paycheck is going to bills that I can barely afford? I should just listen to you and stop enjoying my weekends and kicking my feet up and watching some movies? Use your brain, you stupid twat. Not everybody has rich parents they can leech off for their entire lives. Again, I assume he means that I have rich parents. If I do, this is news to me. I do not. But anyway, this video was about the idea that the things you're using to cope are leaving you trapped. And what I mean by that is there are things that we all do every single day to escape the reality that we're currently living in, to kind of numb the pain or numb the boredom or avoid discomfort. And it's those exact things that we're using to cope which will leave us trapped in that miserable place for the rest of our lives. So let's say that you dislike your job, right? You wake up at 7 a.m. and get on a bus or a train, or you sit in traffic and you get there and it's 9 a.m. and you have to work from 9 till 5 doing this job that you hate, that you really don't believe in, that doesn't fulfill you, maybe it doesn't pay very well, and then you have to spend another hour or two getting home, and then you have to cook, and it's been this big long miserable day. So in those final few hours before you go to bed, maybe you numb the pain by watching loads of TikToks, maybe you sit on YouTube all night, maybe you watch Netflix, I don't know. So you're doing something to cope with the discomfort, but the cope is leaving you trapped in the discomfort. Why might that be? Well, using the example of the job you hate, yes, you might have a job right now that you fundamentally dislike. It drains your energy, you don't want to be doing it. And so you think that what you should be doing when you get home is escaping that reality by putting a movie on, right? By kicking your feet up and watching some movies, as the commenter says. But I think that is the absolute wrong way to look at it. If you're in a reality that you don't like, for example, this job, what you should be doing with the remainder of your time and the remainder of your energy is not numbing the boredom and pain and coping. It's using all of that energy and using all of that time to go out there and fix it, right? So in this case, that might be spending 2 hours a night upskilling, learning something new that will allow you to move into a new industry, that will allow you to find a new job. It might just be as simple as applying for jobs, right? Spend 90 minutes every night going on Indeed.com and applying for jobs that you would rather be doing, because you might not get a response on day one or week one or month one, but join enough of those months together and you're eventually going to get an interview and a job that you prefer more. If rather than sitting around and coping, you do something proactive, you can avoid the longer term discomfort that causes you to need that cope in the first place. If you hate your body and you don't have the confidence to go to the gym because of how you look or how you feel, it's really easy to say, you know what, I'm just gonna hide away and make things worse and not look after myself and not go into the gym because that's uncomfortable. But the way you're coping is leaving you trapped there forever. If you don't like the way your body looks, it will never change through inaction. It will never get better. It will never move closer to the point that you want it to be at if you don't, instead of coping and wallowing and feeling sorry for yourself, take action, right? Cope is leaving you trapped in the misery. And then this defeatist attitude seems to extend to more important things like finances, right? I see people all the time who say, oh, well, I'm already in a bunch of credit card debt, so I may as well just Klarna this stuff because I feel a bit better when I do online shopping and it doesn't matter because it's only another £200. And the very thing that they think they're using to cope, they think they're using to feel better in the short term, is ruining their long-term prospects of ever moving forward. It's ruining their long-term prospect of ever actually improving things. The things you're using to cope are leaving you trapped in misery. The alternative is very simple. Rather than seeking comfort, rather than settling, rather than deciding that you're the victim who has to just surrender to your circumstances, you can instead be proactive. You can instead choose the discomfort, choose the path of more resistance. And in all of that spare time that you have, whether it's 45 minutes because you have young children and you need to carve out this tiny fraction of time that you can get to yourself, or whether it's 10 hours because you have a job and then you just sit around and watch Netflix for the rest, or anything in between, it doesn't matter what your personal circumstances are, there will be a way for you to take time and take energy that you're currently wasting on things that, let's be honest, you don't really want to be doing. Nobody wants to spend 3 hours a night on TikTok. Nobody wants to spend 4 hours a night playing their PlayStation or looking at porn or doing whatever shit you're doing to feel better. It's making you feel better in the short term, but it's ruining your long-term prospects. Instead of using all of that time, instead of using all of that energy to waste away to fade into atrophy and to just slip away from your potential. Be proactive. Spend that time, no matter how long or short it is, doing something about it. Even if you have only 1 hour spare per day and you use that 1 hour for the next 365 days to do something tiny to move forward your position, whether it's professionally, personally, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's with your friends, whether it's with your family, your finances, whatever it is, if you spend an hour a day over the span of a year, your life will change. It would be very difficult for your life not to change at that point. Like, I would actually be impressed if somebody watches this video today and then a year from now, having followed this very simple idea, comes back and says, actually, Sean, you were wrong. I stopped coping with all this nonsense that was distracting me. I was proactive to improve my life and nothing happened. That's just not realistic. But people don't understand this. We as a society, we as a generation have eaten up this idea that it's okay for us to be defeatist. It's okay for us to think that because things are so genuinely hard, look at all of the rest of my content. I agree with you. Our generation has it terribly in so many ways, right? You know, good luck buying a home. It's almost twice as expensive now, pound for pound, as it was for our parents. Good luck feeling comfortable because social media will make you compare and feel terrible about yourselves. I'm not saying that it's not hard. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that your problems don't exist or the mindsets that you're struggling with aren't real. But what I am saying is the absolute worst thing that you can do is allow that to force you into this dark hole where all you're doing with your time and all you're doing with your energy is living to cope, to numb the boredom, to numb the pain, to ignore the thoughts, to ignore the actions that you don't like, and in doing so, staying trapped in that place. Do you really want to be trapped in the exact spot you are a decade from now? Can you imagine the next decade of your life extending out in the exact same way that it is right now, in a job that you hate, maybe without a relationship, maybe without friends that you really rely on, maybe looking in the mirror and not liking how you look, maybe when you check your bank balance, you're like, actually, that doesn't look good. Do you really want to stay in this spot? Because if you do, go watch Netflix, go watch TikTok, spend all your spare time kicking your feet up and watching those movies and try not to change your situation if you really want to stay the way you are right now. But if you don't, then there is no other option. You have to take action. You have to take the path of more resistance. You have to go out there and do difficult things that nobody's going to hold your hand and encourage you to do, but you need to do them for yourself. And that is the more difficult of the two paths, but it's the only way that you're going to change your life. It's the only way that you're not going to remain trapped for the rest of your life in a spot that you do not want to be in. So leave comments if you want, but sooner or later, you're going to understand this lesson, because everybody comes to understand this lesson, which is the things you're doing to cope are leaving you trapped in a reality you hate.